Hey guys, welcome back to another tech video. In this video, we will talk about the Numbers app for Mac OS. If you're new here and haven't followed this Facebook page or subscribed to our YouTube channel, don't forget to tap the follow button on Facebook and or the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to see more MCPL content. We bring you interesting tech videos every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today's video is part of the MacBook Pro Basics skill set series, where we explore the Mac operating system and apps that you're likely to use. Last time we kicked it off with parts 1 through 4, exploring the hardware, basic navigation, the Finder app, Microsoft Office, Safari, and more. The next 4 parts of the skill set series will focus on apps that have equivalents in Windows, such as Numbers, which is the equivalent of Microsoft Excel, Keynote, which is the equivalent of PowerPoint, and then Pages, which is the equivalent of Microsoft Word. Then we'll just round it out with Skill Set 8, where we talk about the Mail app. If there are any other videos about the parts of the Mac that you would like to see, drop me a comment. Until then, let's get started. So when you are on your Mac and you want to open Numbers, you'll click Go in the menu bar, or you can click the search icon for Spotlight Search and type Numbers. And in the search results, you'll see it listed there. And then you'll also see any other subsequent documents you may have opened in that app. But if you want to see the long way, you can click Go, click Applications, and then in the alphabetical list here, you'll go to Numbers. Now, when you first open Numbers, it's probably going to want you to open up a previous spreadsheet that you may have already started. If not, you'll want to go ahead and click on New Document. Now, if it's not your first time opening Numbers, you'll see that Finder window. But if it is your first time opening Numbers, you'll see this window first, most likely. Now, a compatible partner to Microsoft Excel, Numbers is a spreadsheet application available on the Mac operating system, as you can see here. Numbers makes it easy to create organized, professional-looking spreadsheets. Now you can begin with a template, and then you can modify it however you like. If you are new to templates and you aren't quite sure what they are, templates are pre-designed sets of elements for creating a spreadsheet. So it'll already have placeholder text and images, sample charts and tables for creating a spreadsheet, and you can modify those objects how you see fit. However, after you create a new spreadsheet, you can't switch to a different template after you start creating a spreadsheet. So once you choose blank or budget or attendance or what have you, whatever template you choose, that's the one that you have to stick with. If you don't like that one, of course, you can scrap what you have and then copy your information over where you need it in the spreadsheet. But once you choose a template, that's the template you have. If you don't want to start with a template, you can just go ahead and choose blank. There's blank white and then blank black. And if you want to choose a template, depending on what your purpose is for using Numbers, you can choose a template in personal finance. For personal use, so this will be like calendars, schedules, looks like baby records, party planning, meal planner. If you need to do one for business, there's one for an invoice or a break-even analysis. There's education one, so if you're a teacher and need to create something for attendance, you'll have that option, or calculating GPAs and an academic calendar. If you want to see a few more, on the left-hand side in the sidebar here, you start in all templates, and then anything that you've used recently will be here. Your basic ones, personal finance, personal, business, and then education. So these are like the little filters here, or you can start in all. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with a blank one, so you can see what it looks like. So Numbers uses a canvas type free-form container rather than the well-known standard of a grid of cells like you'll see in Excel. So you can add charts, tables, graphs, and other objects into this blank workspace. So when you first open up Numbers, you're given a table. You can delete that table and just start fresh if you want a blank screen, but we're going to just kind of leave it as it is for now for the tour. Now we're going to start at the very top of the screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and make it full screen. Across the top of your screen, you will have your menu bar. That's always there. Sometimes it'll hide, or sometimes it'll be there depending on your settings. So the menu bar across the Numbers window includes some menus that have the same names as some of the buttons in the toolbar here. So we won't go into them in any great detail. So you start with File. That'll usually be the same, such as how to save your document. If you need to open another spreadsheet while you have one open, you can do that. If you want to go ahead and make a new one, if you decide you want to use a template after all. If you want to save what you have currently as a template, especially if it's something that you use pretty often, that's an idea. And then your print option will live here. In Edit, you'll have, of course, your copy, cut, paste, your select, your deselect, and any dictation and spelling and grammar features at the bottom. And then in your Insert tab, this is where you can add in your tables, charts, shapes, column breaks, line breaks, page numbers, all of those things that you can bring into your sheet to make it your own. You'll also see there's formula and equation options here, and then there's a choose option. So in this choose option, this lets you use Finder in order to find what you need to choose to bring into your document. So that's the Insert tab. You can also insert a sheet from here as well. And since we have a table on our sheet already, there is a table tab. So I'm going to go ahead and select the table so that way some of these features are highlighted. This is where you can add a row, delete a column, add a column, hide the row. If you need to do any freezing of panes, so freeze your header row, freeze your columns, add your footer rows. If you need to select certain values, if you need to wrap your text, transpose, insert, you'll have those table features there for you when you have your table selected. In the Organize section, this will be where you can show your sort options, filter options, add your categories, which we'll talk about in a little bit. If you need to create a pivot table, that'll be here. You can either create it on a new sheet or on the sheet you're currently on, and then show category options. Then in Format, this will be all of your text options. So this will be font, your text, if you need to do something to a chart, if you need shapes and lines, copy a style, conditional highlighting, add a link is here as well, and then advanced. And arrange, this is pretty normal, just is something forward or something behind something. You need to align your objects, you need to lock something in place. Those options will be here. If you need to group something, that'll be here as well. And in View, this will be showing your tab bar, showing all your tabs, checking the inspector, which will be kind of this section over here. Then you're showing your rulers. If you have rulers, you can add those there. If you need to add guides, you can add those as well. Show Arrange tools. This will just show you things that you can bring to the forefront. And then if you need to hide or customize your toolbar. We'll talk about that once we get to the toolbar. Then there's Share, and then Window, and then Help. Now below your menu bar is your toolbar. The toolbar is at the top of the Numbers window, and it gives you quick access to some controls. So it's this section here, starting with this View option and going all the way to Organize. As you discover which controls you need most, you can add, remove, or rearrange the toolbar buttons to suit your work style. So to do that, you'll access the View tab in the menu bar, and then go down to the Customize Toolbar. And then you'll have this window here, and you'll notice your options in your toolbar will start wiggling because they're like, are you gonna delete me? Are you gonna keep me? What are you gonna do? Just like the apps on your iPhone wiggle when you are editing your home screen. So if you want to add something to your toolbar, you'll find it in this list here. click and drag it into the space and then let go, and then it'll place it there. If you want to take something out of your toolbar, you'll do the opposite. Click, drag, and pull it down, and it'll kind of poof away. So if I need to get rid of comment, I can pull it out and then poof. If I want to add the print option, since I'll probably be doing a lot of printing, I can put it wherever I want to put it. So you also have like these little flexible space options here if you don't want to crowd everything. And if you want more space between certain ones to add more division between certain features, you'll have the option of space and then flexible space. So if we want flexible space, we can make it add more space here. If you want lock, unlock, mask, guides, paste style. If you want the default toolbar, you'll have that below here where you'll click and drag it up to the toolbar, and it'll just give you the default options back. If you're like, oops, I want to start over because I don't know what I just did, there's the default one there as well. And then you can modify from there. That just gives you an option to kind of start fresh. So you can customize your toolbar as you need. Okay, so the toolbar is that row of buttons above your spreadsheet in the numbers window. You'll click those buttons to see the options for inserting objects, charts, tables, to open and close the sidebar, which we'll talk about in just a moment, and then to show and find and replace, and more. Before we move on to the spreadsheet, let's go ahead and talk about that sidebar. The sidebar is this panel here on the right-hand side of your screen. The numbers window has a sidebar, and it'll give you access to controls and settings, essentially the same ones. It's kind of like the ribbon in Microsoft Excel. So the sidebar is the container to format and organize options. So depending on which option you choose in the toolbar, the sidebar will change to give you the controls to make modifications that you need for the objects that you've inserted into the spreadsheet. So for instance, we have this table that's already available to us when we first open numbers. And so it has its own set of options, such as table styles, table options, headers and footers, rows, table font size, grid lines, row and column size, all of those options here. And then there will be some other headers in this format section. So if I need to change how the cells look, how the text looks, and how to arrange some of the objects that may be in the table, I can do that as well. And then there's an organize part of the sidebar. So when you click that, you're taken into categories, sort, and filter. Now you may be familiar with sort and filter. Those are pretty self-explanatory because they're also in Excel, but categories might be a little new to you. You can organize a table into categories to view your data in totally new ways. So for instance, if you use a spreadsheet to track your company's like shirt sales or something like that, you can organize the data by sales date, salesperson, quantity, color, and more, and it'll add those categories into your table. So if we have salesperson here, and we want to create a category for that in column A, we can then in this section name all of our salespeople. So we can say, here's Brenda. This is what she's done for her sales. We'll add another category and we'll say this is Tim. And then if we want to add, oh, it'll go ahead and add another category. We can say, I'm just going to make up a name and go from there. And so within each of those categories, you could then add another category in column B. That's like their sales goals for that particular person. So it just lets you add drop downs, essentially like bullets, like if you were in Microsoft Word. But they're categories. Now you can hide this sidebar if you want more space for your spreadsheet in the numbers window. You can also make the sidebar appear when it's hidden. So to do that, you'll go back up to that View tab, go to Inspector, and then Hide Inspector. That way you can have that space if you need to see something or spread out your information, because this table here You can resize it as you need by just clicking and dragging it by this little handle here in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if you want to show it, all you'd have to do is just click back on Format or Organize that stay in the toolbar, even if you have the sidebar hidden. Okay, so that's the menu, the toolbar, the sidebar, all those are out of the way. Let's talk about this spreadsheet workspace. Now, as far as I can tell, in Microsoft Excel, one document is called a workbook, but in Numbers, the entire document is called a spreadsheet, and the workspace is called a sheet. You can add multiple sheets or tabs to a spreadsheet to help you better organize your tables, your charts, and other information. So for example, we are in sheet 1 here, and if we want to add another sheet, we can click the plus to add another sheet, do it from there, and keep going as many sheets as we need. You can also insert a sheet by going to the Insert tab in the menu bar and then choose Sheet, and it'll add another sheet. Now if we wanted to rename these sheets, we can double click on the name. It'll take us back to that sheet, highlight sheet 1 or whichever sheet that you were on. So say let's say we're making like a party planning document. We want one sheet for budget. On sheet 2, we can either double click just to rename it, or there's this little drop down option here where you can go to rename. And we need one for seating chart. And then say sheet 3, you want to rename and call it vendor info. Now while you're renaming your sheets, when you click off of a table, in the sidebar, you also have the options to change the sheet name, change the background color, duplicate that sheet, or delete that sheet. So here we can rename sheet 4 as like task list. And then we can rename sheet 5 as like, I don't know, guest list, something like that. So you have all these sheets here. Now if you want to rearrange them, you just click and drag them depending on where you need them. So obviously your budget's very important. You probably want that first. But then you probably need to know who's in your guest list in order to refer to it in the seating chart. And then your task list, and then your vendor info. So you can click and drag to rearrange them. Now you can even open multiple spreadsheets in full screen to where they'll open as tabs instead of in separate windows. So if you're doing your party planning and you have this original set, but you also have another document you need to refer to for this, but it's in its own spreadsheet already, you can have them both open in the same window. It'll just have its own tab. So to do that, you'll need to make sure in your preferences, you're going to go to your Apple menu, System Preferences, and let me come out of full screen here so you can see the menu. You'll want to go to General, and in the Preferred Tabs section, in full screen when opening documents, you can either have that in full screen or change it to always. I'm going to leave mine in full screen so I don't confuse myself. But when you open numbers in full screen and then you open another spreadsheet, they'll open in the same window. So that's essentially what that does. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say new spreadsheet. I'll make it blank black. And then I'll save it as something so that way we can open in full screen. Oops, close you, friend, come back. Okay, we're in full screen. We want a new one. There we go. Now you'll see I have Untitled 1 here, which is my party planning one here, and then I have Untitled 2, which is the blank black one I just opened. Two separate spreadsheets, but in the same window. Now that might take some getting used to. I know it is still kind of a new way to do things for me. So it took me a while to kind of get used to that. But it's pretty easy if you need to quickly refer between two things and make changes between them without having to switch between windows or do split windows. If you don't want to do split windows, that's fine. You can still do that. Now, when you change that setting in your system preferences, that setting will apply not just to numbers, but also to documents and other applications like your text edit, pages, and Keynote. So keep that in mind. Now, when you're ready to insert something, just a quick view of this. Here's your category options, your pivot table. Oh, your zoom is also over here as well, and your view option. View will let you show, find, replace, hide your rulers, hide comments, or hide collaboration activity if you've shared this document to someone else. And there's also your zoom in or zoom out, however big you need to make it, depending on what you're doing. Now, in my toolbar, I have this insert option. There we go. And then I can insert formulas from that insert option. Insert will let you insert your formulas like your sum, average, minimum, maximum count, product, and stock quote. If you want to add media, so such as pictures and movies, you'll click on the media option and then go to your photos or go to your music or what have you. You can even take a photo, scan a document, or add a sketch. Now, if you wanted to add in an actual object, you do have separate menus for tables and charts and shapes. So in a table, even though we already have a table here, we can choose table, and then we'll have different color scheme options here as you click the arrow through them, and it'll just keep cycling through. I know my boneheaded self just kept clicking like, when does it end? When does it end? Not realizing the colors were repeating. Anyway, you can click on the option you want, and it'll add that table right below it. Now, the unique thing about numbers is that each object will have its own column and row. So I did that backwards, column and row, here we go, depending on which one you have selected. So table 2, you'll see here's the column and row here. This will let you move it around with this handle here that looks like a circle. And then the pause looking option here will let you add columns. You notice it's vertical with the sign for column. So you can click and drag to decrease or increase how many columns you have. Now, when I click on table 1, I'll now have my row and column options for that table. But if I click back on top, table 2, you'll see it'll change it. So that's kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of cool. Now, if we want to get rid of table 1, all we gotta do is select it and delete it, and then we can move table 1 wherever, or table 2 wherever we want it. So this is the benefit of that blank canvas. You don't have to keep things in the grid. You can kind of move them wherever you want them to be to change how you need your layout. So that's inserting a table. And then like we looked at earlier in the sidebar, we'll have our table options. Now if you want to insert a chart, you'll click chart in the toolbar and you'll have 2D, 3D, or interactive options. So if we go, now before I mess this up again, if you're adding in a chart, you need to have your values that the chart will reference already in the canvas. Because you'll see here, if I choose this circle graph here, how pretty, and I add it, and make it a little smaller. If I choose add chart data, what it's going to do is it'll bring up the plot columns as a series option, or plot rows as the series option, which just means what rows are it's referencing or what columns will it reference. Then it'll say select cells to add data to this chart, and then there's a done option. What it's wanting me to do is highlight what is going to be referenced in the chart. And if I don't have any numbers in here, that makes it kind of confusing when you're first creating it. So you probably want your numbers and your references already there beforehand so you don't get too confused, but you'll need to make sure your table or your information is somewhere there already. So that way when you type in the numbers for what you need, it's already included. Or you could do it this way, whatever works. It was just confusing to me as a first-time numbers user. How do I put the numbers in there? So you see I selected the options here already. So you want to make sure you already have your numbers probably within view so you know what they're referencing here in the chart. And so when you click on the chart, you can edit your data reference. But you'll also notice the sidebar changed once we inserted the chart, and when we click on the chart, you can change the chart styles. If you want to do that, add that it has a caption, give it a title, turn off the legend, turn on the legend, change the font, give it a background if you need to do that, shadow, or change the chart type once you have your information in there. So you have all of these awesome options depending on what you need it to do based on what you choose in the toolbar. I hope you are really excited about it. I really like the blank canvas idea because I tend to not like form or order. I like chaos and madness when I'm working. And this lets me have that free form ability. Now, when you're ready to save it, of course, you'll go to File, Save, or Duplicate, depending on what you're doing. So if I save it, I can choose where it's saved and what you call it. But if you need to make it to where someone needs to open the same document in Microsoft Excel or another type of format, you'll want to export it. So you'll go down to Export To instead of Save. Of course, save it. Save your copy. But if you need to make a copy for someone else to reference, you'll Export To and then click Excel. And then what it will do is it will ask you to choose whether to create a worksheet for each table or for each sheet. If you create a separate worksheet for each table, you can include a summary worksheet with links to all the tables. Now, if the file needs to be compatible with older versions of Microsoft Excel, you'll want to click Advanced Options and then choose the format from there. And then choose Next. So we're going to leave it at regular one. We want to do one per sheet. Next. And then it'll let us decide where to save it. So I'm going to save it on my desktop and export it. It'll let you know that some changes were made to it, of course, to make it compatible. So it says titles and captions were exported as text boxes. So we're like, okay, that's fine. So here it is in Excel. Here's that categories I made with Brenda, Tim, and Yves with my sheets at the bottom, my guest list, seating chart, task list, and vendor info. Oops. And then here are my tables that were in. See, I'm messing it all up. There we go. That were in my other sheet. So you see the information is still the same, and then it's still the same type of format from when I left it, when I had the chart. And then I can make any changes here and then save it back. All right, that's what I have for you today. Thanks for sticking with me through all of my ramblings. If there are any other Mac-oriented things that you'd like to see videos about, please drop me a comment or add it to the survey link that is in your comments. So, thanks so much for being here, and watch out for more videos from us. Have a good day. And we want to thank you for watching. Follow us to find more videos just like this. Our page on Facebook is MCPL 360. We're here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you miss us on Facebook, you'll still find these same videos on our YouTube channel at MCPL Mo. Find our consumer technology playlist. Have a good day.